Jalen Rose report starts off with their thoughts on the Pacers and Bulls. At 15:10, they transition to talking about whether the Heat should be concerned and the New York Knicks. The podcast comes to an end at 29:40, explaining why Dwight can't make free throws and how important NBA refs are.
Got to give the people time, give people what they want. Don't just know you got to give the people what they want.
It's been a long time
We shouldn't have left you.
without a dope
Pod to step two.
Jalen,
Got to give the people.
what do we give them?
Give the people what they want.
People want a podcast, and we've been
They do.
Right.
They do.
You know what I mean?
They do.
You know what? We can't change the past. We can only
Yeah.
move forward. The
Yes,
NBA
indeed.
season started. You'll be getting a weekly pod from us.
But we've been giving them consistent material, though. We gave them Bill and Jalen's countdown preview. That took a lot of time, energy,
Almost
and work.
killed everybody
That took
working
us
on
to
this.
the beginning of the season. And then, obviously, we started our NBA countdown
You
show.
had MMG's own.
You know what I mean?
Wale.
We had Wale
Yeah.
and What Up Doe interview
You
series.
can see that video on YouTube today, Thursday.
So we're not giving them singles every day, but we popping them mixtapes every now and then.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
keep them happy.
Yeah. Big game last night.
Yeah, huge game.
Pacers Bulls.
And there's no accident that this Garrett's, since you're talking about Chicago and Indiana, two teams I play for, this Garrett's will be on the table, and there will be times I'm actually going to chew in your ear, or you're going to get a chance to watch me eat. This is our sanctuary. This is our locker room. This is the basement.
This isn't Sports Center.
So we're going to keep it raw and uncut.
Before we get to the Pacers Bulls, I do want to recognize that the popcorn here is half caramel, half cheese. It sounds disgusting.
Chi-Town mix!
It sounds disgusting, but anyone that's ever had Garrett's popcorn, the half caramel, half cheese works. It works.
Yes, it does. And it's the best popcorn in the world. And that's coming from somebody that actually still makes popcorn on the stove.
So does
and
my
melts
wife.
his own butter.
So does my wife.
Okay.
You know, she's got a little sugar mix that she puts on.
If I'm hanging out with you and you use microwave popcorn, our relationship is over.
Word?
Yes.
I didn't know it was
I'm
like
not
that.
a cook. I'm not a
didn't know it
chef.
was
But
like
there are a
that.
few things that I've mastered in the cooking game.
Okay.
Any food can make bacon and eggs, which I can, but my fry over mediums are pretty good.
Okay.
I get on that grill some lobster, grill some wings, some lemon pepper, some Louisiana
I get
rubs.
concerned about breaking the yolks all the time. I hate a broken yolk. I hate a broken yolk.
You said that in the ASAP Ferg video. At the beginning of the Ferg video, we was bobbing our head to the record. Hey, 8 gold rings. And he like, why did they not make her do that take again?
I know. There's a model in the video, and she's making eggs for Ferg, and she breaks the yolk of the egg.
So we got to get Ferg on the show and ask him that.
Yeah.
Because every now and then, I'm on YouTube when I'm traveling on the airplane or whatever, and that's one of the videos I continue to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It has 30 million views.
I know. We're going to get 30 million from this podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Pacers Bulls last night.
Yep.
Pacers look good.
The 4 best teams in the East, the Miami Heat, the Brooklyn Nets. We know the Nets put all their cards in the middle of the table. $88 million in luxury tax. Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh are still in Miami.
And then the Pacers and Bulls.
But the two most intriguing teams are the Bulls getting Derrick Rose back, who's been an MVP. Can they have another perimeter scorer or creator is what they truly miss. Are they going to make a move during the year? Because Dang's in the last year of his deal.
So we're going to talk Bulls first, because here's the thing is, going into the season, Jimmy Butler was that guy. You know what I mean? So why do they need another guy?
Derrick Rose, see, a lot of times when you're building a team, you still have to craft the other 14 players around your superstar player if you have one, and Derrick Rose is that. As a primary ball handler, you're asking him to lead the team in shot attempts, in points, and in assists. In late game situations, that's a lot to ask from one player. It's no accident why a point guard, MVP, Hall of Fame caliber point guard hasn't led his team to a championship since Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. And so I think they need another ball handler on the perimeter that can run some pick and rolls, that can come off some screens, that can create some double teams. So now he gets catch and shoot opportunities. He gets the ball with somebody running at him where he can penetrate, shoot a runner or a floater or drop it off to Joakim, to Taj or to Boozer for a layup. he has to work so hard for his baskets, and I know he's struggling from where he's shooting from the field this year, but that's a lot of the reason why.
Now, do you know how many points he had in the second half last night?
I don't.
Just guess.
0.
5. 5 points in the second half from Derrick Rose. You're not going to win the game.
You're not going to win many games like that.
And he seems like watching the game now. I've never played in the NBA. It seems like he's working too hard to get a shot.
My point
like
exactly. Jimmy Butler is a defender that can make spot-up shots and is going to get you points in transition, cuts to the basket off doubles, really outworking the person that's guarding him. Luol Deng can be a catch shooter in transition, but he's not a ball handler. He's not a creator. He's not going to make the game easier for Derrick Rose. I think they need that kind of perimeter player to go with him.
Now, let's not overreact. You know what I mean? Like, we're 5 games into this season.
No, I'm not overreacting.
No.
Bill had the Bulls number 1.
You had the Bills number 1. You were right there. It's not Bill's NBA preview.
I clearly said this is Bill's list, and I don't agree with the Bulls being number 1. I'm just going to close my eyes, and since it's my job to forecast, and just pick the Indiana Pacers to win the East
and
the Oklahoma City Thunder to win the West.
When you say win, do you mean win the championship, or do you mean win the regular season number 1 spot?
I think the Pacers are going to represent the East in the finals, and I think OKC is going to represent the West.
Let's talk about Paul George. Can you win a championship with him as the number 1 offensive threat?
All I know is this. Before the world was talking about the 8th grader and Born Ready and Lance Stevenson.
Love Lance.
He was being mentioned on our podcast years ago. The same with Paul George. So I kind of take it personal a little bit when I see everybody automatically saying they didn't know who he was this time last year. Now you have people saying that he's in the MVP conversation. The only thing I can say is I told you.
Yeah. Go back to the archive.
It's all right there. Because he's a two-way player, Jacoby. He's going to get you 5 assists. He could get you upwards of 10 rebounds on certain nights.
LeBron comes to town.
Couple of steals, couple of blocks, guards multiple positions, can guard Wade, can guard Bron, can guard Melo, can guard KD. Plus he can make threes, catch lobs, and he's aggressive, and he can handle the ball. This gentleman is going to be in the MVP conversation, and deservedly so.
I feel like I play a lot of pickup. I don't play NBA basketball. But I feel like Paul George is the guy who's just like, who's the best player on the other team? Because I'm just going to match up with him. Whether he's a point guard or a center or whatever, it's just like, that's my stopper.
If Scottie Pippen was 23 years old, he'd be Paul George. That's the remix of Scottie. There are a lot of people who don't give Scottie Pippen his props for being one of the top 50 players of all time. But there were nights where he was a triple-double, still getting a handful of steals, could get you a few blocks. A perimeter defender that could guard up to 4 positions. And while he and MJ never won championships apart, people forget he was on that Portland team that Kobe did the crossover at half court against him and goes to the basket and throws the lob over the top to Shaq. They were winning that game by 17 points. He almost led them, the Portland Trailblazers, to the NBA Finals. He almost led the Bulls to the NBA Finals. They got the bogus call with Hugh Evans at the end of the game on Hubert Davis. He almost led the Bulls to the championship then. So I always felt he was underrated and not appreciated by the fans because obviously he played with MJ. Paul George has those similar traits in today's game.
Now, I watched the Pacers last night, and there's one thing I kept thinking. What does all this mean for Danny Granger? Danny Granger was supposed to be the new X factor. It's like, all right, we've got this team that went to the conference finals. Now we're going to add Danny Granger, put us over the top. It almost feels like they don't need Danny Granger, which gets me thinking what?
It's called equity. When you draft Hibbert, Granger, and Paul George, they all become all-stars. You develop Frank Vogel. You don't initially have to overpay him, and he becomes one of the top coaches in the league. You take a chance on David West. You sign him off a knee injury. Remember, when they signed him, the previous year, he didn't play.
There was half a fork sticking in him when he signed.
Okay, so when you make those moves, you're building basically from within. So now that you have that incubator, Danny Granger now becomes a commodity. With this contract, with this past production, whether you want him as a player, whether you want his salary, now you can fill holes as the season progresses that you feel like your team's going to need in order to try to really win the East and possibly win it all.
Yeah, now, can we talk about Lance a little bit?
Let's do it.
He didn't start hot last night.
And for he started 0-7.
He sure did.
Yeah, he did.
A couple layups in there, too.
Yeah, it happens. And for those that don't consistently listen to the podcast, which I don't know what you've been doing if you haven't.
For real, go back.
You're tripping. Lance, as an 8th grader, had so much courage on the playground, and I love this story, that he didn't only want to get up in somebody's face that's a point guard that had good handles and that was strong and physical. The guy's name was also Homicide. Now, if I'm in the 8th grade and a guy's nickname is Homicide, I guarantee I'm leaving that guy alone.
I might not even play. I might not even play.
I don't want next. I'll be back. I forgot my shoes.
Yeah.
Lance had the courage of a cat burglar then. He plays with it now, and that's why he was able to get out of that slump that you described.
It feels like he belongs because I've been a Lance fan for a long time. He won 4 straight PSL titles. Like New Yorkers have known about Lance for a long time.
He fits one of my criteria, and I said this for Derrick Rose. And I know there are media people that evolve, and sometimes I hear my style being copied a little bit or a couple things that we say. So here's one that I'm going to use for players like Lance that I broke out on our first show. He won how many championships?
4 in a row.
In
high school.
Okay. So he's been a terror since the public school era.
Yep.
Okay?
He has.
So when he goes 0 for 7 in a professional game, he's not worried about Homicide knocking his block off. He's just worried about driving to the basket, making the next shot. And that aggression that he continues to play with becomes a catalyst for offensive rebounds because he's attacking the basket, he's slashing. Yep. And him staying aggressive creates opportunities for the bigs.
He's annoying. I don't want to play against him.
Exactly.
You see him flop? You see him flop last night?
Yes, indeed.
It was like he flops at half court, and then Heinrich put a little like hip check into him. Lance flops, so not only is he in Heinrich's head making him hip check him at half court, then he flops and then gets the call against Heinrich. He's the guy you don't want to play against.
When you're at the park, the YMCA, the backyard, playing with your friends, playing with some strangers, wherever, the guy you hate to check you is the guy that's going to guard you the entire time. Deny
the pass 25 feet from the basket. How many times do you just look at somebody like, come on, man. Like, we're outside, okay? I'm 30 feet from the basket. Let me catch the ball.
He 94 feet, stopping you from getting the ball.
Worst. I love Lance. We support Lance on this podcast.
You're on a 3-on-2 break. You turn around, he hustling back.
Now, Roy Hibbert.
He's going to be defensive player of the year.
Okay, here's the thing, though, Jalen. Did you see his tweets last night?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I follow him as well.
I can't quote the exact Roy Hibbert tweet, but he said something like,
I love Roy Hibbert. Let me get some popcorn on this.
He tweeted like Defensive Player of the Year, here I come, or something, or just DPOY something. Now, I can't really support that. You know what I mean? Let other people say that, especially after 5 games. Let other people tell you you're the Defensive Player of the Year. Don't start tweeting it after 4 games.
If you don't beat your drum, nobody else is.
I guess
you learn that in life. How many times were you sitting on the porch pointing at cars and saying, that's my car? How many times you cut out a picture or something and put on your refrigerator like, that's going to be my house? Visualization.
I thought you were going to say girl.
That too. I mean, I had Jet Beauty of the Weeks. I had my rappers. I had my basketball players. Those are my slanted attic. But if you don't visualize it, that's just as much, if not more, than physically doing it. It's not like he's saying a selfish thing in basketball, like I want to lead the league in shot attempts, or let me see if I'm going to be the guy to lead the league in turnovers. He's talking about protecting the rim on a defensive-oriented team that if he does that, now if he does win Defensive Player of the Year, my prediction comes true.
Yeah.
Because that means they're going to be very tough to beat. Look at the second big for Miami. Haslam's gotten a little bit older. You're not getting quality minutes from Oden just yet. Anthony's limited offensively.
Yep.
If they don't get a second big to go against Scola, Copeland, West, Hibbert, that may be their issue.
Birdman ain't doing it.
And Birdman is their other big, but I think he had his maximum opportunity to shine with Miami. I think he was lightning in the bottle initially. They got him off the scrap heap. He played harder than everybody else. He was grabbing rebounds. But the league, over the last half a season and in the playoffs, he got benched during the playoffs, they kind of caught up with his energy level. Yeah. Don't let this guy outplay you. And you can put a smaller defensive player on him, which becomes another person that impedes the progress of LeBron and Wade to drive.
It was just a bunch of baseline cuts and dunks for Bird.
Yes.
In the playoffs, that's all it was. And then it was like, oh, okay, let's just not let him cut the baseline.
I remember doing the the Morris Day and the Time. I remember singing the bird. Oh, yo. Because that's where he was, on the bird's nest, on his perch.
Mm-hmm.
They give it to him, a little launching area, 1.5 feet. He's laying it up. He's dunking it. Teams have done a good job of zoning that up and taking it away.
So let's move to the Heat. They didn't start hot. They're going to get everybody's best game when they show up in their building. So I'm not surprised about that. Should Heat fans be concerned? Chew your popcorn, too.
I can chew and talk.
Yeah, you can do it.
Like Les Miles.
Don't spit any popcorn
I was
on me,
watching
though.
Les Miles, my guy from Michigan, big shout. He eats grass before the games. That's half crazy.
What?
I saw Ray Lewis do that, too.
What?
He was actually talking to the interviewer, somebody for our terrific network. I forgot who was talking to him. And he actually ran a red light. He said, oh, it's about to be green. I'm like, oh, okay. Whatever. So for the Miami Heat, what's going to be their advice? No team since the mid-'80s, Boston Celtics, has made the NBA Finals 4 straight years.
Mm-hmm.
That's approximately 315 games of NBA basketball that they have played. That's so much wear and tear on your best player, LeBron James, because when Wade is out, he has to do more. When Bosh is out, he has to do more. When you're only getting one big producing on a given night, he has to rebound more. It puts wear and tear on him. Plus, you're getting everyone's best shot, and other teams want it now.
Yeah.
The Bulls and Derrick Rose want it. They've been a playoff team. They want it. The Nets, they're trying to improve their roster. They brought in KG. They brought in Paul Pierce. They hope Darren Williams and Joe Johnson are going to be best backcourt. They want it. So while I can't just bet against LeBron James, he's the best player in the league, I just think that you can't win it every year, and this may be somebody else's opportunity.
Now, I agree with you, but it's like it's only the Celtics have gone 4 straight times. It's a very difficult thing to do, but here's my counter. We have never seen anybody like LeBron James. You know what I mean? We've just never seen anybody like him. Physically, the way he plays, how hard he plays, that if somebody can do it, it would be him.
Well, if they have 5 more LeBron Jameses on that same roster, I would agree with you.
They don't. And what driven league is it? What driven league is it?
A player-driven league.
Point guard driven league. You say it every podcast.
Yeah, true indeed.
And Norris Cole and Chalmers.
Well, see, he has to be their primary ball handler. He has to be their second leading rebounder. He has to lead the team in assists, blocks, and steals.
Mm-hmm.
That's a load. Minutes, interviews, play for the Team USA.
Samsung commercials.
His commercials are killing him this year.
I like the commercials. I find it implausible that he rides his bike around and everybody follows him.
All hail to the king. Like right now, he's making people bow down and kiss the ring. Like for real. People question whether he was going to be this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He became that guy.
Do you think that's his real house?
No.
I don't think so either.
No, nobody's putting their real crib that's smart on a commercial.
Yeah, and also the pool is too small. It's a little pool, man.
Yeah, that's not his crib.
That's not his crib.
Not at all.
Okay, good. And also, like, there's people right across the river there. I was like, he cannot live there.
Okay. JRLA, before it expanded, initially was 35,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James has a house in Ohio that's 35,000 square feet.
And how many human beings go to school at JRLA?
300 kids go to JRLA.
Yeah, he's got like 3. Yeah. For every 100 kids, there's 1 spot.
And he deserves it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's earned it. I want to talk about the Knicks a little bit.
Okay. The New York Knicks.
I'm concerned. Before the Tyson Chandler injury, things weren't going well.
I got one thing I always say to my beloved New Yorkers that are friends of mine, including yourself. So many Knicks fans that run up to me, Knicks tape, it's our turn. I got one word for you guys. Expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I always judge success off realistic expectations.
Okay.
Coming into this season, what did you expect from the Knicks?
5 seed.
Okay. So they're going to be around that.
That's what they're going to be.
Correct.
Yeah.
So since 1973, the Nets and the Knicks have both made 2 NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
If you expect this team to win the East, it's not going to happen.
No.
The thing that you should watch for, however, is relying on J.R. Smith can be a gift when he's playing well, knocking down shots, and be a detriment. getting ejected in the playoffs. You saw how that turned out, getting suspended at the beginning of this year. You see the team start off 1-3. Now you lose Tyson, puts more pressure on Melo. LeBron has won championships in Miami. Kobe's won championships in L.A. If I'm Melo, I'm watching those two spots carefully.
What do you
and
mean
I'm
by
really
that?
considering to try to bounce to play with one of those guys.
Hold on a second. Jalen, we've done a billion podcasts together. We filmed 17 hours of NBA previews. And what have you always said about Carmelo?
That he's about his money?
No, that he's going to stay in New York.
I know.
You said that. You said it at least 7 times.
I did.
And now you're saying what?
I said if I'm him,
Okay.
I think he's going to sign a 5-year, $126 million deal with the Knicks. That's what I anticipate is going to happen with Melo.
Mm-hmm.
If I was Carmelo, I'll be thinking more along the lines of Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Because their point guard play is their true issue. And here's what I mean. They're going to need a guard that can push the basketball up the floor, create open floor situations, 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, penetrate off pick and roll, penetrate off the half court to get shots, catch and shoots, and or slash and drops for Melo and for J.R. Smith.
That's not what they do, though.
As long as you're watching the Knick game and Melo's getting an outlet pass or getting an inbounds pass, he should be a recipient. He's the kind of player that should be getting the second pass,
exactly,
or the third pass off movement, doing 2 or 3 dribbles, and doing a decisive pull-up jumper, drive to the basket, strong finish at the hoop, or knock it down to 3 because he's a much improved three-point shooter. J.R. Smith, catch and shoot, third or fourth pass in a lot of situations, not necessarily a primary ball handler. When you don't have a point guard, it's going to be like, you get on the wing, and I'm going to get back to you. You stop putting up your hand on the right wing, and you get into the play.
Yeah.
Until they have that, and a point guard with speed, that's going to truly be their issue.
Shumpert and Felton are not that. I like Shumpert.
Prigioni, Udrich.
And they're not that. They have no interior scoring. Just none.
But if that's your roster, they're the only team in NBA history to have 3 front court players at the same time making it over $10 million. Melo, Amari, and Bargnani.
Mm-hmm. Now,
so if you know that's what you have, you're stuck with it, like family. It is what it is. What do you do to remedy it? You have to get a point guard with some speed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been their issue the last couple of years.
If you have a guy like Bargnani, you need a point guard that can penetrate and then kick out to him for an open 50-footer in the baseline.
He's a catch-and-shoot player from 3-point range that once he feels confident can get on the post.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, how he's going to get offense? That's what happened with Novak in New York. I remember there was a time where he's the best shooter in the league.
Yep,
he's a difference maker.
All over the place.
Discount double checking, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I can guard him with a guy that's 5'3".
You can guard him with a microphone stand.
Correct, and he was done.
Yeah,
because they didn't have a point guard to get him offense. He's a catch and shoot player. What makes Miami good? LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh can get catch and shoots for Ray Allen, Shane Battier, James Jones, last year Mike Miller.
They can also get their own shots.
And they can get their own shots, no problem.
Yeah. So there's something I want to talk about the Knicks. Not on the rundown. It's the most fascinating story to me that no one's really talking that much about. A gentleman by the name of Chris Smith. Are you familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who his brother is?
JR.
Is he on the New York Knicks roster?
Guaranteed contract.
Does he deserve to be on the New York Knicks roster?
Yes. In life, you never get what you deserve. Only what you have the leverage to negotiate.
Ooh, what a Jalen moment.
And having his brother on the team, I think, was the deciding factor. If his brother was not on the team.
You think?
If his brother wasn't on the team, no, I don't think he'd be on the team.
Okay.
But he is.
That's not how it should work, Jalen. That's not how it should work, Jalen. If I was a basketball player that deserved an NBA contract and didn't have one, I would look at Chris Smith and just be like, what is going on? It's not like J.R. Smith is LeBron. You know what I mean? It's not like J.R. Smith is Derrick Rose. It's not like J.R. Smith is Kevin Durant.
You don't think veteran players that could be contributing to teams like Richard Hamilton and Steven Jackson aren't saying exactly what you just said? They are.
Yeah. And not only that, you're saying, like, look, they need a point guard. They need this. They have needs, clearly, especially with Tyson out. They have needs, and they're filling up a roster spot with Chris Smith.
And that's why there's been tension in New York to the point where they fired their GM coming into this year, basically. Mm-hmm. James Dolan says he feels like that team is going to win a championship.
He benched the Knick City Dancers.
And that's a beautiful team.
How do you bench the Knick City Dancers? Why punish the crowd?
No question.
Why are you punishing the crowd?
Right.
What happened? What could possibly happen to you bench the Knick City Dancers?
All I know, he might be pulling the plug on the New York Symphony Orchestra next time.
Yeah, what is happening?
Like, that's a huge deal in New York.
Shut down the C train. Like, why? Jalen, explain to me this. Why bench the Knick City Dancers?
A frustration when you look at Brooklyn and you realize they're better than you. Mm-hmm. And you guys have to compete for the same dollar in the New York metropolitan area. You built a roster that you hope to be in championship contention, yet based on all of the things that have transpired, you as a Knick fan even acknowledge on paper that if they play up to expectations,
5 seed,
they'll be a 5 seed.
Yeah.
So that's what makes the owner frustrated.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think happens first? Woody gets fired, or we tape another podcast?
We tape another podcast.
Okay.
Because J.R. Smith's suspension and Tyson Chandler's injury is going to buy him some equity with the situation.
And that makes sense.
I think the first coach to go, and I hate predicting firings, and I got one eye on you, Tyrone Corbin, is Randy Whitman in Washington. Mm-hmm. They had a big win last night, but I wouldn't be surprised if they start off 1-7.
Yeah. That team is looking for Andrew Wiggins. They were looking for a playoff spot a week ago. Now I feel like they're looking for Andrew Wiggins. So how's your relationship with Bill? How's everything going on Countdown?
Everything is going terrific with the sports guy. We had a great job. We did a great job of shaking it up last show.
Yeah, I loved it. Now, I ask because I think he's trying to get you fired. I think he's trying to get you fired.
What did he ask me?
He said, make sure you ask Jalen about the lack of African Americans in Major League Baseball. And I was like, what is happening here?
I'm only holding a bat.
He's trying to get you fired. Now, there are fewer African Americans playing in Major League Baseball today than 2 decades ago. The percentage was 8.5% in this season's opening day rosters. Now, my question to you, first of all, don't get fired, is why do you think that is? What has happened?
The popularity of that sport has continued to wane because in the inner city, first off, the equipment, the manpower, the space, the bases, the natural basics that it would take to practice the essence of learning how to be a baseball player and hit a hard ball. So many things and dynamics have to go into play, but that it just becomes incomplete.
Mm-hmm. Now, no one's ever played pickup baseball. You know what I mean? But let me counter that by saying...
I have, though. I played fast-pitch tennis ball up against the wall.
Okay.
No doubt about it. But here's the problem. I used to play baseball, hardball in middle school. And I went up to Hutchinson. For those from Detroit area, you're going to know what I'm talking about. And we used to play hardball up there. And the problem with playing amateur baseball is that you got a guy on the mound that think he's Jack Morris or Bob Gibson. Mm. But he has no control. So if you've ever been hit with a ball, that really hurts.
Yeah.
And it makes you mad at the person that threw the ball.
Yeah.
And if he continues to have issues with control, which he should because he's not in the pros. He's actually an 8th grade kid. He's actually a high school kid. That's another part of the dynamic. So Major League Baseball has to do a better job of creating incubators of urban situation to where you can actually participate in baseball and have an infrastructure that takes care of the costs so that you can learn the rules of the game and how to play the game.
Now, let me just counter by saying this. It can't just be socioeconomic because there are so many baseball players coming out of impoverished areas in Latin America and the Dominican Republic. And
boom, Latin America, those areas, in their situation, they look at baseball as their way out. Mm. If we don't make it as a baseball player, how are we going to make it out? How are we going to get to the United States? What are we going to do once we get to the United States? Mm. In the United States, inner city kids feel like basketball, football, and entertainment is their way out.
Yeah.
Like the late great Notorious Big. Either you sling and crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot.
Yep.
That's the mentality of kids growing up here.
All right, you didn't get fired. Let's move on. Let's go to the Western Conference.
Okay.
Now, I love watching the science experiment that is the Houston Rockets.
Me too.
It's just an intriguing thing to watch. It's a fun team to watch, and I'm really curious to see what their ceiling is because they're just getting to know each other. What have you learned? What do you see from Dwight Howard on the Rockets?
I've watched 2 of their preseason games. I've seen them practice, and I was at the Clipper game recently when they just got bombed.
Mm-hmm.
What they're going to do at the 4 spot is key. There are times you can play Ashik and Dwight Howard together.
Not many.
But in a league in half court where it's either going to be an ISO situation, a pick and roll situation, a post up situation,
On offense or defense?
or they're going to on offense.
Okay.
You can't truly have 2 6'11" players out on the floor that aren't mobile enough to stop the ball from turning the corner and pick and roll.
Well, when you have guys like Jeremy Lin and James Harden that just want to drive, you have two bigs down there. That just doesn't work.
And that's the other part. On that side of the ball, Jeremy Lin is a scorer that plays the point guard position.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's in the game, that's going to take looks and ball handling opportunities away from James Harden. It's going to take shots away from Dwight Howard. That's why they look to start Beverly in the beginning of the year. Terrence Jones, they've tried to use him some at the 4. I don't know if he's knocked down enough shooter to even be able to play that position.
I know he's not. You can say you don't know.
And more importantly, is he going to be able to guard Blake Griffin, Zach Randolph, Serge Ibaka, and match their energy on the boards?
No.
So that's what I think they're lacking. I really like Parsons as a slasher, as a shooter. He's going to continue to improve.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just go from a team that made the AFC to win in the West. So I think their progression is continuing in a positive way. I don't expect them to make the Western Conference Finals, but I do expect them to be a top 4, top 5 seed in the West.
I'm going to say this. I don't expect them to make the Western Conference Finals, but they could. I don't think we've seen this team's ceiling. Like, I think they've got a full season to figure it out. And let's be honest, they've got a full season, or at least until the trade deadline, to move Asic for something. It's going to happen, right?
That's the key. How they're able to parlay his deal. Can they get a Ryan Anderson from New Orleans?
That makes sense.
So now you got the high-low thing where he and Dwight, they played together in Orlando.
And then you get Harden and Lin driving. They can dump to Dwight or kick out to a shooter, which is really what they need.
But also you give up another big body that's a shot blocker that's going to contest at the rim, that if Dwight Howard gets 2 or 3 fouls and all of a sudden you traded Ashik. See, I think the Orlando Magic made a mistake a long time ago. I felt like when they had Gortat backing up Dwight Howard, I would never have traded him until Dwight Howard signed. When he re-signed, then I would have traded him because he was clearly the second best. He was clearly the best backup center in the league. This is the same for Houston. They can't just trade Ashik to try to build out their starting lineup, and then all of a sudden you just gave away a 7-footer as well.
Especially a 7-footer that can't shoot free throws.
And Dwight can't shoot free throws either.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing.
I want to talk to you about that. I was watching the Clipper games.
If you can't shoot 40% from the line, you shouldn't get an NBA check.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't know. Now, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. What is it about the physiology?
Ain't no benefit of the doubt.
And the thing is he's 6'9". Like, let's just say it like it is. He's not a 7-footer. It's one thing, like, when you're Shaq, it's like, all right, you're a gigantic mountain of a human being. Maybe it's hard to shoot this little ball in the hoop. Fine. But Dwight Howard is 6'9". He's your height. The
beauty of sports is the imperfection. And all players have strengths and weaknesses. If your weakness is free throw shooting, that's the only time during a basketball game when you get a chance to take an uncontested shot, and we all know it. Mm-hmm. That's the only time you shoot a jump shot where you don't jump. Mm-hmm. The only time. It's almost head-scratching. It's baffling.
Almost.
That any player, high school, college, or pro, I don't care what position you play, that goes into the gym and practices consistently, can't go to the line and make 40% of their free throws, you shouldn't get a check.
This is what I want from you, Jalen. Part of this whole podcast is I'm just the fan guy. I'm asking you to explain stuff to me. Why can't he make free throws?
He can make free throws in practice. And that's what I mean by the mental aspect of me describing not jumping, the shots not being contested, no players are moving. This is the time where your mental capacity and your muscle repetition takes over. That's why if you see a Michael Jordan going to the line shooting it with his eyes closed. He's not shooting with his eyes closed because, A, that's the first time he's done that. He's doing that because he's done that muscle memory so many times that he can basically duplicate it with his eyes closed.
Yeah. Now, in Dwight Howard's defense, I think he started like 4 for 4 from the line or whatever in that game.
Uh-huh.
And the shots that he's missing, they're just missing. Like they're on line. It seems like the form looks all right, but it's just back rim and out, back rim, front rim and out. Like it's not. They're not so sloppy that it's just like, oh, that dude just can't shoot. I think it is a mental block.
And also, just like anything else, if a team is leaving you open for 3-point shots and you miss a couple, the teammates can be like, yeah, come on, keep shooting them. And then after a few games, the teammates can be like, yeah, keep shooting them. Your coach going to pull you to the side and say, I need you to be making that in practice first.
Yeah.
You launch up a couple in the game, it better be off rhythm.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you thinking in your head, I only got 1 or 2 chances. If I miss 1 or 2, then everybody's going to be moaning and groaning about me taking 3-point shots. The same mental capacity goes into taking free throws. Everybody's watching you. You got a bullseye, you're standing on the line, and nobody's moving.
So here's a question, Jalen. When you shoot NBA free throws, does the crowd noise affect you? Does the guys in the background waving their hands around affect you? Does any of that energy that the fan put into making you miss that free throw affect you? Because I always think it's just a waste of energy.
I am a fan. I am one of the people that when I go to a baseball game and it's quiet and I'm rooting for my Tigers, I'm like, hey, batter, batter, batter.
Yeah, you don't do the journalist thing. You're not like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. I'm an objective journalist.
When I'm at the Lions game and they're lining up for a field goal, I am screaming like everybody else to hope they miss the field goal.
Don't act like you don't cheer for the Pistons either.
The same thing for the Pistons.
Yeah.
I went to a Piston game this year and I was outwardly cheering for the team.
Yeah, you're not being a journalist, an objective journalist.
No, I'm a Detroit Piston fan.
Yeah, and that's fine. You should be.
No doubt
you
about
were
it.
when you were 15. Why shouldn't you be when you're now, what, 32?
That's my squad. So when you get to the line, and I don't want to discourage fans in any way, shape, or form, that's why I put myself in their position. That doesn't bother you at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's the point?
It's actually
holding up
funny.
signs and moving all around and banging thunder sticks together. It's like, what are you doing?
It really makes you concentrate more. The athlete that you saw perform well when he was sick, or the athlete you saw perform well when his team was shorthanded, a lot of times it just makes you concentrate more, lock in. All right, I'm going to make sure I put my foot on the nail. I'm going to make sure I get a quality follow through. I'm going to make sure I do all of my muscle memory correctly because I can't let these 25,000 people who are hitting thunder sticks and holding up pictures behind the backboard or mascots that are mooning me make me miss this free throw.
Mm-hmm. And you just don't see it. All you see is the rim.
Yeah, all you see is the rim.
Yeah. What would you, if someone said, Jalen, here's a bag of money, right? High 5 figures. You're going to spend 2 weeks teaching Dwight Howard how to shoot free throws. What would you do?
Well, one of the things I noticed that I don't think that he completely lines up his right foot on the nail. When you're playing on a regulation basketball court and you go to the free throw line, there's always a nail that represents the front of the rim.
Really?
At the free throw line.
Really?
There are a lot of people that don't know that.
I didn't know that. I don't think that's true.
You don't know that either, huh?
No.
Yeah, there's always a nail. It represents the front of the free throw. It represents the front of the rim.
The middle of the rim. So right in the middle, there's the nail.
When I used to go to the free throw line, I used to always put my left foot on that nail. Every time.
Really?
Because that means all I have to do is shoot it straight. I can't play pool, but I can shoot a pool ball straight.
Okay.
So if it's all about a straight hit, then boom. If you need me to flip it and bounce it and be Minnesota Fats, I can't do any of that.
You're not the Black Widow?
Right. But I can hit it straight. And so that's what I used to do with my free throws. And so I think his feet are parallel to the line and to the nail.
Mm-hmm.
And so that throws his balance off from the beginning.
What if his release point isn't over his right foot?
But it still allows you to shoot the ball straight. Remember, basketball, one of the hardest things to do in sports, besides hit a golf ball, besides hit a fastball, is to accurately shoot a basketball. Think about it, you asking a guy to handle the ball, go between his legs, go behind the back, use the inside foot, raise up on the guy that's 6'8", that's jumping as well, and accurately make an 18-foot, 15-foot, 23-foot shot. Like, there's reasons why these guys get paid millions to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if he lined up different and he bends his knees, it's more him going to his tippy toes. And it's not just him. It's DeAndre Jordan. He's really struggled at the line as well.
His don't even look good. At least Dwight Howard looks like he knows what he's doing.
Correct.
But DeAndre Jordan, in his defense, he's 7 feet tall.
Correct.
Dwight Howard is 6'9".
I know, but you can't give DeAndre a pass because he's taller.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
Yao Ming was an 85% free throw shooter. Rick Smith was a good free throw shooter. Patrick Ewing was a good free throw shooter. It's basketball. It's muscle memory. It's getting in the gym and practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Not a game.
So here's what I'm going to say to that, Jalen. I almost feel like if someone gave me high five figures to teach Dwight Howard how to shoot, first thing I would do is take $20,000, hire a therapist, and be like, go sit on the couch. Because that's really what's broken here. It's not the gym. You need to be on the therapist couch. Like, it's your mind that is keeping you from making these free throws.
And that's why I pointed that part out first.
Yeah, and we spent way too much time talking about Dwight Howard's free throws.
I know, but it just bothers you. It bothers a lot of fans.
Me, man.
When you see NBA players and you're talking about, hey, Jalen, what you think will happen with the Clippers? Well, it depends on Dwight Howard. It depends on if Blake Griffin and DeAndre can make free throws late.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Houston Rockets? Well, it depends on if Ashik and Dwight Howard can make free throws late. That has become an issue with some of the contending teams.
You end up taking a guy like Dwight Howard off the floor late in games. And if that's what you're doing, it's kind of like, well, what's the point of having him? If it's a close game and he's on the bench, then what are we doing here?
And that's the work you got to put in.
You believe in the Warriors? They coming out to play?
This is what I know.
Okay.
There hasn't been a team that had 3 perimeter players score 30 each in a game this year. And I saw Steph Curry and Thompson both have 38 and Iguodala have over 30.
Mm-hmm.
That means that they're an explosive basketball team. Yes. And they don't have Harrison Barnes just yet.
Yeah.
When they get him back, if Bogut can stay healthy.
Can their front court carry them through the playoffs?
People never talk about David Lee. He's always been 18-9.
Ambidextrous.
He always has been.
Yeah.
He plays within himself. He knocks his elbow jump shot down. He rebounds for his position. He scores on his post. He doesn't really say too much, so his production flies under the radar.
Here's the thing. A couple things about David Lee. One, he always plays at the Rucker, and I appreciate that, okay? Every summer, he's at the Rucker. Just playing like not even like the chair. He's like, he's just playing everyday games at the Rucker. No cameras or anything. Great. Two, my friends that know the numbers, specifically Colt Goldsberry, shout to him. The numbers say he does not defend his position well. The opponent's shooting percentage around the rim when David Lee is playing defense is one of the highest in the league. And that is a liability, and that is one of the things that makes me question their front court.
Because David Lee.
You didn't like that kernel? You caught a kernel there?
Every now and then when you're eating Garrett, you get a kernel.
I eat the kernels. I kind of like the kernels.
Yeah, but I don't feel like choking on a podcast.
It'll make a big noise.
This is live and uncut.
Yeah. I'm not helping you either.
The thing about David Lee is he's not a shot blocker for his position. So there will be times where people contest at the rim, drive around him, get offensive rebounds over him, beat him with quickness, beat him with athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why you got this 7-foot guy standing behind you, named Andrew Bogut. Yeah. That's what he's there for, to be the eraser.
And also, but listen to this. Thompson, Iguodala, Curry, Bogut, Barnes. Like, they go small. There's not a lot of teams that can keep up with that.
I think that they're a team that's being overlooked. But here's why people are overlooking them. You're going to lose some toughness when you lose Landry and Jack the way they did. Jack was another ball handler for them. But Iguodala does so many intangibles that his intangibles will make up for that. And he's going to play some quasi backup point guard. So I think they'll be fine. The Spurs will be right there. Kawhi Leonard's going to play like an all-star. So is Tony Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Duncan's still going to be on his plan, playing 28 minutes. You still going to look at the stats. He's still going to have 16 and 9 on average, 55%.
Are we sleeping on the Spurs again? They're 4-1, I think.
The Spurs, do not be surprised if they have the best regular season record for the Western Conference.
I would be surprised.
Yeah, don't be surprised.
Because I think Popovich is going to sit those guys. He knows what's happening. You know what I mean? Guys like Manu and Tim Duncan, they're playing in the playoffs.
But players like Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard are young.
For some reason, I don't believe it. I don't want to say it too loud.
You don't
believe in Kawhi Leonard for some reason. Everybody loves this guy. And I don't even have numbers to back it up or whatever. I'm just saying,
you missing
I'm not buying it.
You're missing one of the next breakout stars. So I'm about to give everybody a frame of reference. The way we saw Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Steph Curry all break out last couple of years, you're going to see that this year from Kawhi Leonard.
You think so?
I know so.
Well, he's going to have the opportunity because I think that the guys like Manu and Parker and Duncan, I think Popovich will have an eye on their minutes.
But it's a different type of numbers. Like the first guys I mentioned, they dazzle you with their ball handling. He's not a ball handler like that.
Doesn't have to be.
But he's going to be so effective as a wing performer that his productivity is going to be clearly better.
Parker had, I think, 15 in the fourth quarter last night.
7 for 7 from the floor.
I mean, that's perfect.
Here's a player that's won championships, knows when to take over a game. The Spurs are going to be there. OKC's going to be there. The Clippers.
Clip set.
I think they'll be in the mix also. Chris Paul is going to be an MVP candidate. I think Chris Paul is probably going to win MVP this year.
You think so? What have you seen from the Clippers this year? I like the Clippers because they're fun to watch.
High-scoring team, struggled on defense.
Oh, yeah.
As we do this
they're
podcast.
They're scoring 120 points a game.
But as this podcast is being recorded, they have the worst defensive team in the league. They're giving up 100.
I think they have the highest offense in the league, too, though.
Yeah. So they got to get timely stops. The players that they added, Dudley and Redick and Jamal last year, are all heat check, offensive catch and shoot, scoring in bunches, really helping Chris Paul spread the floor along with Blake Griffin kind of players. But I'm interested to see when the game slows down how they get Matt Barnes more into that mix.
I love Matt Barnes.
And so that's going to take one of those three guys out of that mix. So that dynamic is something that Doc is going to have to do a push and pull with. And I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out.
They have a good second team. The Clippers have a deep bench, and I think that in the playoff, they play fast and they have a deep bench. And in the playoffs, those are two things that go away. You know, you shorten the people that played down to 8, and the game just slows down. And I wonder if they can thrive in that environment.
When you fire your coach like the Nuggets did, the Grizzlies did, the Clippers did, after the team just had one of the best seasons, if not the best season in the history of the franchise, you just fast forwarded your entire season until April.
Exactly.
When you do what the Nets did, you just fast forward your season until April. That's when these teams are really going to be judged. That's going to be the proof of
So
ground.
let's talk about the Nuggets. They haven't won a basketball game.
Yes.
As of right now, when we're sitting here, they have not won a basketball game.
The true definition of how good their team is going to be is if Danilo Gallinari and Wilson Chandler can both stay healthy and both play at all-star levels.
As someone who watched them a lot when they were on the New York Knicks, it's not happening.
But it's
not happening.
But that is the dynamic that their team is missing.
Danilo Gallinari runs like my dad.
I think Wilson Chandler has all-star potential.
I would say Chandler more so. I was focused on Gallinari. Gallinari can't stay healthy. He's a frustrating player because he has so much potential, but I just don't see him.
Right.
I see him becoming one of those guys like a Dunleavy type that just kind of shoots from the corner.
Right.
That's it. And that's kind of going to be his role. That is his NBA role now. Is like, go to the corner, I'll drive. If your man sinks down, I'll kick it out to you. You better hit that.
And beyond those two players, I mean, over the last couple of years, you know, they've given deals to JaVale McGee and to Ty Lawson, who are very athletic players for their positions. I really like Ty Lawson. I think they're trying to figure out what style of play they want to use, or they want to run, or they want to slow it down.
He doesn't know slowing it down.
I wouldn't have him slow it down.
No.
Because he's one of the fastest players with the ball in the game. So they're still trying to figure out what they got. I think they'll be fine because, you know, they have a talented roster, and Kenneth Faried plays hard every night.
Now, let's talk about the Lakers. Bill sent another question in. You know? He's been producing the podcast from afar. I watched a Laker game. I forget who they were playing. It was a couple nights ago. Steve Nash looked like he didn't belong there. He looked like he did not belong. He just grazed the front rim on a floater from 5 feet. He's just slow. You know, I think that him and Blake, at the time, this was probably one game ago, they were shooting a combined 28% from the floor.
Arnold Horshack moment. Ooh. I appreciate my vets.
But.
And if they're going to continue to play the game you love, keep getting them checks.
Keep getting the checks, but.
Steve Nash is on that team.
The keep getting the checks team?
Yes.
I mean, if anybody else was there to back him up, he would be in the game.
He's playing for a coach that he won 2 MVPs with. And this same coach doesn't have him in the game, especially in the fourth quarter.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's that relationship is so tight that D'Antoni can't look at him and be like, you know what? You ain't got it. You put on a suit and tie. Here's a clipboard. You are now Tyronn Lue.
And also, look at how the geometry of their roster has changed since he came to the team. He came to a team that had Mike Brown coaching, then Bernie coaching, and then Mike D'Antoni.
But think about the players he was supposed to play around.
Yes.
They had a promo.
Meta.
They had a promo where the getting off the bus was the team. It was Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, Meta World Peace. That's a 5. And I think when Nash signed up, he was like, okay, I can be in cruise control. I'm not going to be looked at to do too much. I've got all these scorers around me. And now he's got Xavier Henry.
And his body's breaking down. Like, there's always a point in your career when you start to get older, you just hurt for no reason. Like, I remember times when I was playing with the Bulls, and as I started getting older in my career and playing a lot of minutes, because those years I played a lot of minutes, I vividly remember walking down the stairs and literally holding on to the rail in the wall because I could barely walk.
Man.
And that night, I went out and had a great game. Between 12:01 in the afternoon to 7 at night, something happens. You're getting treatment. Mm-hmm. It's your job. Your adrenaline's flowing.
The rhythm of the day. You've been doing it for 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Nash's body is breaking down for no reason.
The reason is he's 40 years old.
Here's how you know a guy's getting old.
He's 40?
When Kobe Bryant drives and hurts his Achilles, you see that he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
When Shaq is running down the court in Boston, and all of a sudden it's like
running is the right word.
No, when Shaq is running down the court in Boston, and all of a sudden it's pow, like it's a sniper in the building, and he just grab something, and you're like, what happened? What happened? Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? That's when you start to get old.
Yeah.
And Nash has those injuries now, where you watching the game, you're like, he just went to the locker room? Like, what happened? What happened?
And as a fan, and I know this will never happen, doesn't work the way we want it to, I just don't like seeing the Steve Nash because I love the old Steve Nash so much. You know what I mean? And I don't want the guy. I want him to keep getting his checks, like you say, but it's like, it's not fun. It's not fun to watch one of your heroes, one of your favorite basketball players, behave like this on the court.
I'm going to tell you what's not going to be fun. When Kobe Bryant worked his butt off,
mm-hmm.
and he's back before Christmas, and he won his 6th championship, and he look at those other 14 guys, and he look at those 4 or 5 guys coaching, and said, I'm not going to win it with these guys. That's going to be their problem.
What's he going to do then? What did you do?
I'm not sure.
What happens? Does he just kill everybody?
I don't know what happens. Does he continue to say, I'm just going to play good soldier? I'm going to go out and get my numbers.
That's not what that's not Kobe Bryant.
And ride out to the sunset the next 2 or 3 years?
Mm-mm.
Or does he say, I have to play for a championship contender?
Trade me.
Or I'm not going to be able to play here.
You know, it's going to be fun to watch.
I mean,
I can't predict.
That's got to be a choice that he's making. And I've heard some conversation, we all have because it's become public, that the Lakers are looking to sign Kobe to an extension. If somebody's about to offer you 4 years, 3 years, 20, 25, $30 million a year, how long would it take for you to decide?
0 cents. I've already signed. I've already signed by the time you finish the question. Now, as someone who's made as much money as he has in his career, and as someone who is so focused on championships and his legacy, I like to think as a fan that maybe he wouldn't go for the money. Maybe he wouldn't sign that. Maybe he would look towards one more ring. Is that reality?
That's not reality.
That's not reality.
Floyd Mayweather says it best. Professional prize fighting is the sport he does for a living. Boxing. He's not getting in there if the purse ain't right.
Mm.
Kobe ain't rehabbing and putting on that Laker purple and gold if the money ain't right. He's rich. They're wealthy. He's looking at them like, figure it out.
What's there to figure out? They're not winning a championship.
But that's the responsibility of the organization. Who, by the way, there's a level of greed here, too. And we all appreciate Michael Jordan's drive, Kobe Bryant's drive for excellence and for more. But if he only ends with 5 championships, I mean, I mean, that's not so bad the last time I checked, right? I mean, oh my goodness, what a failure. He only had 5 championships.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some for everybody else. LeBron coming to get his, he got 2. Wade sitting on 3. Tim sitting on 4. Like, there are other rings out here for other people to get too.
Yeah, and I also, when you do mention greed, if you put yourself in the Lakers brass position, they know that if they have Kobe Bryant on the floor, they will have fans in the seats.
And you got a player that's going to be driven to compete every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people are paying those high ticket prices, they know that they're going to get a maximum effort from that guy. And that's what people really want to pay for too.
Now, I've got one last topic. It's about Boogie's balls. Why did Dennis Schroeder punch him in the balls?
Boogie!
Why did Dennis Schroeder punch Boogie in the balls?
And if you have not been a fan of this show, if you want to create an argument with me about basketball, say anything negative about John Wall or Boogie.
Love Boogie. I love Boogie. So
don't mess with my guy.
Here's my quote, right? So Dennis Schroeder took a cheap shot. Went downstairs on Boogie in the middle of the game, right? Here's his quote. I took a cheap shot to my lower area. The refs just blew it off, I guess because it was me. But as soon as something happens on the other end, because it's me, they run to the camera. Is that fair?
Under that circumstance, Boogie is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Now, emotionally, and the way he's dealt with officials, the way he's outwardly dealt with some teammates and coaches, and how he's lost his poise in a lot of different situations, you lose some of your leeway. It's almost like when you go before the judge more than once. It's almost like when you tell a fib to your parents more than once. Your rope gets shorter. Mm-hmm. And so if you're cursing at the ref in the first quarter and there's a questionable call in the fourth quarter, you ain't getting the benefit of the doubt. That's just how life works. That's how basketball works.
What is your relationship with the referees like? Like, do you know them all by the first name? You must see them all the time.
You got to be almost an idiot or not a student of your craft to not be smart enough to know the 3 guys who are going to be calling this game tonight that can put you on a free throw line 10 or 15 times. If you don't know those guys' names, like something is literally wrong with you.
So you play in the league for a long time. Do you have relationships with all the refs?
You do. And it's a like, it's a dislike, we're professionals too. He's looking at me like, that's Jalen Rose, not Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at him like, he's a good ref, but he's not one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a professional respect. And then there's also how you behaved the previous times, regardless of how situations go. Because if you play long enough, you're going to get blown out by 30. I don't care how great you are.
Yep.
You play long enough, Gilbert Arenas going to score 60 on the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these things happen. How you respond in those moments is what they remember. And so when you're getting your butt handed to you and you pout about it and you moan about it, they really hate that. And that'll create a relationship that goes bad with a ref for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You saw Tim Duncan and a couple of his Spurs teammates actually dress up like the officials for Halloween.
I think Joey Crawford was involved.
Okay, so you don't think a cerebral player like Tim Duncan or organization like the Spurs, they know how important the officials are, and they felt like the officials weren't working to their best interest. They got 4 rings and still took it personal.
Yeah. Do you think, this has long been a theory that is thrown around, that the league office picks officials for certain playoff games in an attempt to sway the outcome?
Not to sway the outcome, they pick officials that they feel like can handle themselves when they feel like it's going to be a hostile environment, or when there are 2 teams that really don't like each other. Like if you got the bad boy Pistons playing against the Chicago Bulls in 1991 in the playoffs, you need some officials that's been around.
Okay.
That really know how to call the game, not let it get out of hand, but also that the players respect, that they've earned that equity with. So not everybody's playing on an elite level. When you're watching the Super Bowl, you're supposed to be watching the best teams and the best officials.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to finish with this. Tell me about your t-shirt, Jalen.
The Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, tuition-free public charter high school. How do private schools get elite facilities, get all of the learning tools that they desire? Donors and tuition.
Tuition, yep.
My kids, Since we're a public school, don't pay tuition.
Where can you get that money?
That's where it makes it important for me to have donors like Holly and Tom Gore, who steps up to the plate, the owners of the Pistons. They did a terrific job of becoming a partner with our Leadership Academy. We're so fortunate to have
What
that
if I'm just a regular listening to this podcast? Maybe I want a T-shirt.
Jeep, Isaiah Thomas, the board members, my co-founder, Michael Carter. If you want to support JRLA in any way, shape, or form, even if it's to buy swag, go to jrladetroit.com. And if you're in the Detroit metropolitan area, stop by and visit us.
Give the children what they want.
Got to give them what they want.
We'll be back next week.
Got to give them what they need. Hey!
Thank you for listening to Grantland. To hear more Grantland shows in your earballs, subscribe to Grantland Sports and Grantland Pop Culture on iTunes. Or go to grantland.com and click on podcast.